Hey guys, in this video we'll be continuing with the Python video tutorials. We'll be going over indexing in Python. So another way you can access the individual elements in a list is with an index. Each element in a list has an index that specifies its position in the list. So I think I've mentioned this so far in the list tutorials. With Python so far in the first few lists, I might have mentioned an index. So as I mentioned, index 0 is the first index. So this list is index 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's 6 elements in this list, index 0 to 5. So it's always going to be a list. The index of a list is going to be index 0 to n minus 1, where n is a number of elements in the list. It's a pretty, you're going to have to know that across all programming, so you'll memorize it eventually, but at the start you may just need to write it out. So basically, each element in a list has an index that specifies its position in the list. So indexing starts at 0, so the index of the first element is 0, the index of the second element is 1, and so on. The index of the last element in a list is 1 less than the number of elements in the list, or if the notation, if n is a number of elements in the list, then it's indexed from 0 to n minus 1. Where n minus 1 is the last element in the list, or the last index. So pretty much, we've gone over most of it already. The one difference in Python that differs from other lists, and basically differs from arrays, is that this part's pretty important. You can also use negative indexes with lists to identify element positions relative to the end of the list. So the Python interpreter adds negative indexes to the length of the list to determine the element position. The index -1. So -1 identifies the last element in the list. So in this case, so it'll be a little bit confusing to grasp, but -1 in a list, so index -1 is the last index in a list, because of course it's n minus 1, so n minus 1 is the last element in the list, or the last index. -2 identifies the next to last element, so this would be -3, 10,000 would be -4, 1,000 would be -5, and 100 would be -6, I believe. So let's just do an example of that, because that's probably an important thing that differs from Python, differs in Python compared to other languages. So it makes Python unique in this way. That's why technically it's not a technical exact array, but realistically it's an array that you can do more things with. That's all a list really is. So we just have like list ARR points to some integers like that. Then we have so here if we just print list array, so what we can do is we can actually, I don't think I've showed this yet, we can print out certain indexes, of course. So if I just Of course, I can just start off with this. I can print out list array of index 0. So if I just print that and run it, we'll see that we'll get 0 for, for index 0 we get 11. So we wanted to print out index 0. In this case we got 11. So if I print out index 1, that'll get the next element over to the right, or towards the end of the list. So now we have 12, and I can continue to, of course we could just print them out like this as well. We could separate them. List array of index 3, 11, 14, we can throw a string in there. Whoops. That should work. So 11 and 14, or sorry, 13 and 14. So furthermore, if we have back to the negative indexes, or yeah, so the negative index. So if we print out list of, or sorry, if we print list array of index -1. So if we print out list array, or list ARR of index -1, we should get the last index 14. So if we go -2, we'll get 13. Going backwards now, of course. 2 will get 12. Actually, sorry. Did I do 2 twice? 0, 1, 2, 3. So -3 will give us 11. Sorry, 12. What do we start out with? 4? -4. So let's just start, do we say? Sorry, no. Apologize, we started off with -1. So just going back for a sec, apologize for any confusion. So if we go list array index of -1, then we'll get the last index. Now if we add 1 to that, or sorry, if we add -1, we should get 13 in that case. If we add -1 again, so if we print out -3, the list array of -3, index -3 will get 12, and -4 will print out 11. And if we print out -5, we should probably get an exception that the index error. Or in other languages, you'll see like an array out of index exception or out of bounds exception. So it's exactly the same as that, pretty much. Alright, so I think that should be it for indexing. So it's pretty easy, nothing too complicated. So the last time that this loop, whoops, sorry, I forgot. So what I meant to say is that basically once again, this is just an exception because it was out of bounds. The index -5 doesn't exist. There's no -5 index. It's out of bounds. It's out of the array. Sorry, it's out of the list bounds in Python. Such as if I was to, so if we were to print, so of course, list array goes from index 0 to 3. So index 0, 1, 2, 3. So if I was to print index 4, well, there is no index 4. So that is a index error in Python. It's an exception we have our traceback telling us on line 2 in this path, in this file, line 2, raise an exception in module, print list error in the module. In this module, basically, main.py. In the line print list array of index 4, we got an index error because the list index is out of range. And we got a system error code, which is 1, probably in the machine code. So in the back end of Python, of course, everything's done in machine code, so 1 will represent a system error. So moving on to the len function, len. So Python has a built-in function named len that returns the length of a sequence, such as a list that we have. So list ARR. So if we just want to print, so we can call the len function, so it just, of course, len just stands for length, but it's like the short abbreviated form. So if we have len, it's a function. It's a built-in function in Python, so if we want to print out len of list array, the parameter list array, then we will should get 1, 2, 3, 4 because it's of length 4. Whoops, did I spell that wrong? Spell that wrong, hopefully it works here. Okay, yeah, so it's 4, therefore they're giving us the length. Don't confuse this with an index. The length is not the index. The list is going to be of index length minus 1 as well. If n is length, then that's just more notation you can jot down in your notes. So we can also, you can do a few things with len. The len function, you can say like size of list array points to len of list array, and we can print out size of list array. We should get the same thing. There you go. So we got 4. We can basically, we're just playing with the data here, moving it around and stuff. So the len function can also be used in a loop when iterating over a list. So we can do an example here with a while loop this time. So we can delete those. We have our list array points to some list. We can initially set I to 0, I to point to 0. We can say while I is less than len, the len of list array. Then we can print list array of index I. Then below that we can have, since we can't just say I++ in Python, we can have I plus equals 1, which means I points to I plus 1. So if we save that and run it, and we got the index incrementing by 1 every time, and we print out the index. We print out the element at the index, because of course we're calling the list of we're calling the list array of list index I, of course, so we're printing out the element at that index. So of course we could have just said I points to I plus 1. Same idea, so both work. So we have the exact same result. So that'll conclude the tutorial on the len function and indexing lists in Python. Thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully you guys learned something. If you guys liked the video, you can like and subscribe to the channel for more programming and investing videos, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.